come in here and pay me, and then you can talk to us all kind of way you want to, bro. The fuck?
I can talk to you however the hell
No,
I
you
want.
cannot.
Go back to your damn country if you want to act like that.
Back to the... You just told me to go back to my country?
Yes, I did say that.
Bitch, I saw your fucking EBT card in there. Guess who?
So what?
Guess who paid for that motherfucking shit? I did.
Oh, well.
Bitch, you know how...
Bitch, how you want me to feed my kids? I'm fat.
Oh my fucking god, bro, you got me fucked up, bro.
Yes, you got me
I
fucked up.
pay
Bitches
taxes
like to eat.
for your fucking food.
Yeah, bitches like to eat and my kids like to
I pay taxes for your fucking food, and you told me to go back to my country?
That's what you
Your fucking lazy, big ass bitch. The fuck look like a fucking upside down bowling pin looking ass.
That's because I like to fuck
You look like my fucking suburban, okay? Fucking potato bill looking ass head. Get the fuck out of here.
I swear to you, if you don't laugh at the sheer comedy of how the shop owner took down his opponent, I don't know what to tell you, especially given the reason this whole drama was initiated by the woman of color. It was simply because the waiting area only had small chairs, and she couldn't sit down, forcing her to stand. But with a slightly, just a little, overweight figure, standing for too long was more than her knees could bear. That's why she started insulting the owner for what she called a lack of proper customer service. And well, you've just had a good laugh at how everything ended. Of course, not all Americans behave this way. African Americans are no exception, but the issue cannot be avoided. The behavior of a considerably large segment of the citizens of the land of the free is being heavily criticized by the international community. To some extent, it's like the way mainland Chinese citizens are widely disliked by the world. Americans are a version of that. Perhaps the only difference is the type of behavior. The bipolar image of the superpower for decades, the image of Americans in the eyes of many other nations has followed a strange trajectory. They are both admired for their economic, military, and technological power, and yet derided for a behavioral style considered rude, shallow, unrefined, and sometimes unbearably arrogant. This duality isn't based on baseless prejudice. It stems directly from the structure of American society and its founding history. The superpower status that has lasted throughout the 20th and 21st centuries, combined with a virtually self-sufficient education and media system, has led American citizens to develop cultural habits that are profoundly different from the rest of humanity. The world criticizes Americans for being rude, not just because of their actions, because of the stark contrast between a nation that constantly describes itself as the beacon of civilization and a style of behavior that fails to meet the universal standards of courtesy that many cultures have cultivated over thousands of years. The shock of brutal honesty and unrestrained volume when Americans show up in any other country. From Europe to Asia, the first thing that often shocks locals is their bluntness. In American society, directness is viewed as a core value, even a virtue. People are taught from childhood that speaking directly is being genuine, that debate is a protected freedom, and that everyone has the right to express an opinion without having to hide their views to maintain a false sense of harmony. Yet it is precisely this attitude that makes Americans easily viewed as patronizing or impolite, especially in East Asian cultures that prioritize courtesy, saving face, and careful wording to avoid offending the listener. When a Japanese or Korean person says, "Let me check on that," it might be a subtle rejection. But for an American, a refusal is a refusal, no subtlety, no beating around the bush. This contrast creates a cultural shock that leads to Americans being harshly judged. Even if they have no malicious intent, a lack of malice does not equate to goodwill from the person across the table. Another factor leading to American criticism is their loudness and the intensity of their emotional expression in public spaces. In continental Europe, people speak quietly, maintain distance, but rarely display excessive emotion in front of strangers. In Asia, apart from China, self-restraint is even considered a cultural standard. It's linked to maturity, responsibility, and respect for the community. In contrast, Americans are taught to laugh loudly, speak loudly, show enthusiasm, initiate conversation, and assert themselves in all circumstances. This makes them look like they are occupying other people's space, behaving thoughtlessly, and failing to understand that many cultures consider silence an expression of respect. A group of American tourists talking loudly while walking through a Japanese train station will instantly become a target of annoyance. An American family debating World War II loudly in an Italian restaurant will be subjected to critical stares. Yet they believe this is perfectly normal, or even a sign of friendliness. That's why Americans don't understand why they are questioned when they speak their minds directly to others. The me first syndrome and global ignorance, American rudeness, isn't just about manners. It stems from the habit of using themselves as the standard for everyone else, a direct result of being born and raised in a nation that seemingly has everything. America has every climate type, every landscape, the world's leading racial diversity, a massive economy, huge domestic media, and a confidence built on the spirit of American exceptionalism. Growing up in such an environment, many Americans easily mistake their standards for universal ones. From restaurant service to hotel quality, from the attitude of airport staff to Wi-Fi speed, from traffic organization to the attitude of the populace, all of this is assessed by a segment of Americans using the mindset of comparing everything to America. This creates the image of a group of people who travel the world but don't truly see the world. It's only seeking to impose what they are familiar with onto other countries. A classic example is the story of American tourists not liking to learn foreign languages. This isn't because they are lazy, but because their living environment doesn't necessitate it. The US is too vast, English is too widespread, their economic, entertainment, and educational systems don't require knowing a second language. However, when this attitude is taken abroad, it becomes a sign of disrespect. An American arriving in Paris and complaining that no one speaks English is immediately seen as arrogant. An American coming to Vietnam and using English as a tool to give orders makes them disliked. Germans, French, Italians, Vietnamese, and even Filipinos tend to judge that Americans refuse to broaden their horizons. Japan makes this even clearer, as Japanese people are generally very sensitive to the behavior of foreigners and adept at distinguishing between a sweet tourist and a crass one. The lack of global knowledge among Americans is a fiercely criticized issue, sometimes exaggerated into a running joke. Many Americans don't know the world map, can't distinguish Asian countries, don't understand the history of wars in Europe or colonization in Africa, often confuse basic concepts about civilization outside the US. It has reached the point where a popular online consensus states that being an American citizen automatically results in a -100 penalty to geography knowledge. This doesn't come from inherent stupidity, but from an education system overly focused on US history. It's a media landscape that concentrates too much on domestic issues, coupled with a cultural environment that makes many people feel the outside world has no direct bearing on their lives. When an American asks, "Wait, where is Vietnam?" they are not intentionally insulting, simply weren't taught to care. But for the rest of the world, that is hard to accept, because smaller nations have to study the superpowers to survive, while the superpower needs to learn about no one. The result is a massive knowledge gap leading to the perception that Americans are seriously uninformed. Don't be surprised that the majority of viewers of the video comparing the size of the World Cup to the Super Bowl are Americans. Just look at how their jaws drop in disbelief that there are events larger than the Super Bowl globally. That alone tells you how huge the self-imposed isolation in the mindset of the majority of Americans is. The fact that they don't even believe the Olympics gets more views than the Super Bowl is the truly dangerous problem. Toxic confidence and the inability to read the room. Another issue that leads to American criticism is excessive self-confidence. In American society, self-promotion is not only normal, but mandatory for success. From school to work to job interviews, everyone must strongly present their personal capabilities. Individualism makes Americans believe that each person is the center of their own life journey, and taken abroad, this style unintentionally turns into ostentation and imposition. This results in a situation where Europeans and Asians feel that Americans consider themselves number one. An American boasting about their achievements in a casual conversation might be seen as showing off by a German and lacking humility by a Japanese person. Yet, to the American, silence and modesty are viewed as a lack of confidence. These two contradictory standards create deep cultural clashes that lead to negative conclusions about Americans. A critical point is the Americans' severe lack of context reading ability. In Japan, you must be subtle enough to realize what the person opposite wants, even if they don't say it. In Korea, you must understand social hierarchy to behave appropriately. In Europe, you need to know when to speak and when to remain silent. But in America, people are taught to just say exactly what you think. When that education style is taken worldwide, Americans become tactless in the eyes of many other nations. This is because they fail to recognize nonverbal cues, unwritten rules, and underlying layers of meaning in daily communication. They believe that honesty is enough to compensate for everything, but humanity doesn't only communicate with honesty. The irony of pride. It cannot be denied that global media also contributes to tarnishing the image of Americans. Many viral social media clips highlight the extreme behaviors of a few individuals. American tourists arguing with taxi drivers in Thailand, American tourists damaging monuments in Italy, American students getting drunk in Japan. These incidents become symbols for the entire nation. Even though the majority of Americans are polite, knowledgeable, and respectful of local laws. But why do these prejudices persist as a matter of course? It's because of a paradox. The very things that annoy foreigners are the things Americans are proud of. They are proud of being open, while the world finds them excessive. They are proud of being direct, while the world finds them rude. They are proud of being confident, while the world finds them boastful. They are proud of being casual, while the world finds them irreverent. And in that gap of difference, the cultural clash will continue for a long time and will be difficult to resolve. Yet even if that difference is sometimes frustrating, it undeniably proves the richness of humanity. Americans bring their style everywhere. The world reacts with its own standards. Annoyance is not a sign of cultural failure, but merely a recognition that humanity does not live by a single set of rules, and the world has to argue a bit to make things interesting, right?